Well, a big good morning to you guys. Welcome to Rhema CC, guys. I'm Lindy. I'm your Sunday morning host here at Rhema CC, and what a delight it is to spend my Sunday mornings with you. Now, I don't say that to be kind of all happy and clappy and all that sort of stuff, because really, honestly, most of us don't feel it in the morning, really, do we? If we're really, really honest, we're not feeling all that happiness and delight, but honestly, we have a choice to make. We can choose whether or not we're going to let it hold us or we're going to let it be a reason to keep pushing forward. And my goodness, we've got plenty of reasons. We certainly do. If we live here on the coast especially, that water just surrounding us from all sorts of avenues and all sorts of angles. We've got creeks, we've got rivers, we've got lakes, we've got the ocean. My goodness, it is just phenomenal to be able to think of how close we are to that. Just the natural, just absolutely just the most breathtaking stuff. And it's right here on our doorstep. Doesn't matter how far we have to go, it's still not too far when we live so close. Maybe you're up here on holidays. If you are, welcome to the coast. Hope you're having a beautiful weekend. I hope you've actually had a really special weekend. I hope it's been a weekend where you have thought, the Central Coast really is an awesome escape, because it is. It's a great place to just kind of come to and unwind. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lindy. I'm here each Sunday morning, and I'm thankful that I am. I'm glad that I get to spend my time with whoever is out there listening by some pure chance. There are some days where you wonder if anyone's listening, and other days you think, oh, did I really say that? Because I don't know if I wanted anyone to hear that, but honestly, in all seriousness, really pretty much anything that I say here, I'm pretty cautious with. I think, now, would I be willing to say this if I was sitting forward before someone and having a chat with them? And pretty much we cover some heavy stuff here. We cover some topics that, kind of can be those things that we just are sort of frowned upon, like you don't talk about that. But I think really when I'm assessing, what's okay to be chatting about here, I think, no, if you and I were having a conversation, I would probably be doing exactly the same thing. I'd be just talking it out and just trying to be very respectful of all people's take on things. And honestly, one of the best things that we can take away from this morning is the fact that we do have hope. We've got, as I said, we're just also blessed. We've got so much here in Australia. This is an awesome land. We have got so much that we can take in. I'm sitting at the moment in front of a desk that has a beautiful big sunflower in front of me. And it's just such a happy flower, isn't it? It's one of those things that we can't be cranky when you look at it. It's just delightful. It's big, it's bright, it's happy. And as I look this morning, my voice didn't want to work then. As I look this morning, I think, it's a cool reminder that even when things feel a bit dull or feel a bit, I don't know, you're just kind of just in this headspace of, I'm just sort of plodding along. I think having these beautiful reminders just from nature sometimes, and just that little pick-me-up that we all need from time to time. It's just that, it is a bit of a pick-me-up. It's like, that's a beautiful reminder of just the natural resources we have amongst us. And we've got a creator who is just amazing. He really, in all seriousness, he really is. The way, the colours, the textures, the scents, the way he creates and he transforms our understanding of who he is. When we really sit back, I don't understand how people can look at nature and think there's nothing to it. Like, I don't understand. I just think, how do you just happen? Like a chameleon. I saw a thing the other day about a chameleon. I'm like, how can anyone just sort of brush it off and go, he just happens? There's got to be something behind it, doesn't there? I certainly think I know what that is, and I'm so thankful that I do happen to know that Creator. He is the God of all the universe, everything, every dimension, and it's pretty phenomenal. Actually, just thinking of that, I didn't even think to introduce. I forgot to actually talk to you guys about what we were just listening to. But it literally was 1 Billion Stars by One Sonic Society, and it's phenomenal when you just take in the awe of creation. Mind-boggling stuff, but it's also very humbling, because we think can be so big at times and so important, and then we look at the scheme of things from a different perspective, and we go, wow, God loves us. God loves us, even though we are really just a little speck in the, not even a speck of dust in a lot of ways. It's kind of, we are so tiny, and yet we are loved so deeply. It's a beautiful concept to get your head around. Anyway, guys, we are talking this morning. We are actually going to cover our last week of What Would Jesus Do? Now, where am I going with this afterwards? I have no idea what we're going to do in the next few weeks. If you've got some suggestions, by all means, let us know. What do you want? What should we talk about? What sort of things do you want us to cover here? I will certainly do my best to hear those out and work out where we can go. If there's things that you think, oh, that would be really cool to explore. I'm not someone who's likely to put things off to the side and go, no, I'm not touching that. I will be someone who is quite happy to dig a little bit deeper and sort of, assess things from a spiritual perspective, kind of debate here and there of all the different sides and different things. But if there's something specifically you think, oh, that'd be really cool to examine or sort of assess, yeah, absolutely, we'd love to hear from you. So anyway, as I said, we are doing our last What Would Jesus Do sort of week of the series, I guess. And this week I'm going to carry, I'm having a shocker already. We are in for a good morning, aren't we? This week I'm going to cover the parables of Jesus. And that might leave you guys going, how does that kind of fit? Well, I was thinking about it and I thought, yeah, I could cover more stories. I could cover more things that Jesus did while he was alive. I could talk about that this week, or I could talk about how he spoke to people. And certainly we have seen that in the most recent weeks. We've just discovered and discussed how he has responded to different situations and obviously the interactions involved in that. There's been several weeks we've covered that. But specifically looking at the parables of Jesus and why he would choose to speak as in the form of parables, I think is in itself something for us to explore. So I looked into it because I thought, you know what, this is... there is a lot of parables. I don't actually know for myself how many there are, but I have got a list in front of me and there is a lot. Let me just say that the way that Jesus explained things, he kept it simple. He really did. And I think that's the lesson that we are supposed to take on board. I will leave it there for a bit, guys, because I know I'm just about to step into something that's going to open a whole other realm, and I'm just like, nope, hold up for just a minute, Lindy. Just come back and we'll cover this some more before too long. So we're going to do that. I'll see you guys here soon. And welcome back, Coasties. That was Made for This by Carrollton. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Seriously, good morning. And I do hope you are approaching this as if it is a good morning, because it is. It is a great opportunity for us to get up and get out of bed and be ready to face the day. I know it's only like 7:40-ish, but you know what? The thing is, it doesn't matter what time of the day we get up and we get moving. It does not matter as long as we have a look on our face that says, I am ready, our mindset of this is going to be good, and a determination within us to just go, yeah, we're going to keep pushing through regardless of what today entails. But all in all, I do honestly hope and pray that it's all things good, and it can be when we choose to do that. I know for me, I certainly have moments where I get a bit overwhelmed, in the mornings especially. The mornings can be a little bit like that for me. As a mum, probably Sunday mornings especially, I find a bit more intense. It's kind of like, I've got to get everyone out the door and, just doing life. And it can be hard. It can be really hard. But a little bit of prayer goes a long way. A little bit of prayer and some tears sometimes, guys, honestly. For those mamas out there, you know what it's like. It's like, okay, just need to fall apart for a second. Okay, now I'm good to go. And even that's a gift. God giving us those tears to cry when things feel overwhelming, when it feels like it's just too hard. I went back through some material that I was putting together. I put together for a program. I've spoken to you guys about this before. It's a program called Wonderfully Made She Is. I'm actually in the process of sort of revamping that for my own sort of stuff, but I'm going through the materials and I was looking at literally pictures of tears and just what they look like. And it doesn't matter how many times you see these images. It's one of those things where you go, my goodness, God really does know us to the point of our tears. We're told that he's kept them safe. He's got them stored. He's captured them. And to look at these pictures of tears underneath a magnifying glass, it is phenomenal to think the way that we are designed when we cry certain tears for certain reasons. God knows what they're communicating. He knows if it's a case of I'm just overwhelmed. He knows it's a case of I am burdened, I am grieving, or I am whatever. There is communication in whatever we are producing through our tears. So there's some powerful stuff in there. Now I have completely sideswiped what I was going to be talking about straight up today, but yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that. It's, if you're having a moment where you just think it's just too hard, and you just get to a point where you can't do it. Believe me, those tears are of value to God. They are tears that He values. He knows more about you intimately just by you being that vulnerable and just going, I can't keep pushing on. I'm giving these tears to you. And prayer, as I said, is a really good way to get to that place where you can at least go, all right, next step, what are we looking at? I can keep moving towards the next step. I might not be able to see the full picture today. I might not be able to look and go, yeah, it's going to be a great day, but I can at least get up and get a cup of tea. I can get up and do whatever. Prayer is a big part of that, and I encourage you to talk to your Creator because He knows you so intimately. He knows every single fibre of your being. It's awesome to think. It is just, it's phenomenal that He even wants to know that, but He does. He knows every detail, and I just want to encourage you to give every part of you to Him. He's a good God, and He does love you big time. That has absolutely nothing to do with what I was talking about it does, I guess, but where we're going to today in terms of what we are talking about. We're talking about the parable of Jesus in the Bible and the parables. Now, what is a parable? I'm going to explain to you literally word from word from BibleStudyTools.com, because there is a bit of if you are part of the Christian world and you have been for a long time, you'll kind of get an idea of what a parable is, but they can be a bit of a crossover in our understanding. So I'm literally just going to read to you what I have in front of me. Again, it's from BibleStudyTools.com, and it just says the parables of Jesus make up a crucial part of the Bible. Jesus had the wisdom to simplify the profound spiritual truths He needed to share with humanity in the form of relatable stories that are easy to understand. Now, a parable is a tale about a simple, common subject to illustrate a more profound, valuable moral lesson. The source definition of the word parable means a placement side by side for comparison. Sometimes the gospel authors, so that's Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, begin a parable with an analogy such as the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out at dawn to hire labourers for his vineyard. And that's specifically from Matthew 20, verse 1. Or Jesus may provide an example from everyday life to convey spiritual truths, such as the parable of the Good Samaritan to emphasize love and mercy, or the parable of the friend at midnight to show persistence in prayer. A parable utilizes the full story to produce a spiritual lesson, whereas a proverb, metaphor, simile, or figure of speech usually centers on a word, phrase, or sentence. So if we then look at the parables of Jesus, we can actually see in this thing, you guys can look it up too. It's as I said, BibleStudyTools.com. If you just pop in, even in your search bar with whatever you're wanting to look up, parables of Jesus, it gives you a list of where we see certain parables in the Bible. And one thing I've noted that's really interesting, you guys may not think it's not that interesting, but to look at the characters, those who wrote the different Gospels that we've got listed here, so Matthew, Mark, and Luke. There's nothing in reference to John in front of me. But to look at what they wrote about, what the parables that Jesus taught and the different people and how these parables were emphasized or important to them. Now, Matthew, he has he has a huge amount of parables written about. There's different parables that he's kind of emphasised throughout his writings. Luke has quite a few. When we look at Mark, he hasn't got that many. He's got a few, but he hasn't got that many. He's highlighted, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of what it looks like, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. So about 26 in front of me that I can see. So in all, now this is an assumption on my end. So this is nothing to do with, I have no evidence to suggest that what I'm saying here is actually correct. But I would suggest, this is my suggestion, that in terms of what means a lot to these people, Mark probably didn't get a lot out of it. This is probably what my take on it would be. Whereas we look at Matthew and Luke and we look at the things that they have listed as going, oh, that's important, I need to highlight that. You look at the lists we've got here of the things that the parables that Jesus has taught and why it's important for us even today to take on. And as an assumption, I would say that to Matthew and Luke, the parables must have meant a lot. Now that's interesting. I find this is again just a me thing. I'm just sort of just sifting through it myself as I'm talking to you guys. But what I find interesting is that the personalities that we see here, the things that we see as important, are no different to how we see things as important today. There are certain parts of the Bible, or even just aspects of the Gospels themselves, that you and I may look at different times and go, oh my goodness, I took so much away from that. I cannot believe I never grabbed that before. And there may be other times that we look at things and go, yeah, no, I don't get it. I don't get it. I've got no idea. And based on where our life is, our life experiences, they are going to alter things too. I know for myself, I have just actually doing this with you guys over the last few Sundays. I said to someone just recently, I have never processed the stories of Jesus like I have in the last few weeks. I've known them. I've heard them since I was a baby. You know, before that, even before I was even born, I know this stuff. But to really look at it and to process it myself has taken a long time, because I'm in my 40s. So there are times where I can take scripture and it can really be applied and really be understood. And there are other times where not so much. And I did say, I can't think who I was talking to, but it was along the lines of, I may have just been talking about it here. I can't even think. We talked about it last week. But I was quite amused by just the concept of how, you know, my age and stage of life is going to be different to someone who the person I was 20 years ago. The things that I would have heard even in the last 5 years may have altered my interpretation or my understanding of what I have read. So life experiences, guys, it helps us to understand. But what I love about the parables is that Jesus simplifies it for everyone. He keeps it simple, and that is the foundation of what a parable is. Keeping it simple, just get to the point. What are you trying to tell me here? I think if I'm looking at this from a what would Jesus do perspective, I think our approach to Christianity, our approach to the Christian faith, our approach to evangelizing, our approach to loving people is to keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Make it so it is understandable. Now, if I go back to the fact that I had suggested that Matthew and Luke have certainly taken a lot away from these parables of Jesus. Mark, not so much. Now, we don't even see John in this. I have to dig through John myself, but I'm looking specifically what is in front of me at the moment. There is no reference to anything that John passes on in terms of parables. But what I can see here, that says to me that out of the four Gospels, or those who wrote the four Gospels, 2 and a bit emphasize that this stuff is important to hear. They want to know that others can hear it, and so they've passed on these parables that Jesus has spoken. And I think that's a really encouraging. It's an encouraging thing for us to take on, because we have to be mindful of the fact that, you know, we can use all the big words. I was actually looking at something only this morning, and I thought I could sit here and try and work out how I pronounce that, but how is that going to help anything? I might know how to say things from, you know, all the big fancy schmancy words, but if I don't know how to apply it, if I don't know how to teach or pass on the truths of life, it helps nothing. It does not help me. And I guess probably as a bias, I would say that, I don't know if it's a bias or it's the other way around, if it's kind of more of a, not generalisation, but it's something that I probably have to work on in myself. I would say that in terms of education, I have been very mindful of not being educated to the point where I forget how to communicate. And yeah, I say that delicately and with sensitivity, because I don't mean that people who are highly educated have lost that ability. I just know for myself, if you start using all the big fancy schmancy, wow, I can't even say that, so obviously I can't do the big things. I think that I would run a risk of forgetting how to keep life simple. And that is the reality. If we want to see people knowing about Jesus, if we want to see them loving and learning more and more about Jesus, if we want to see them having that connection with Jesus, I think we are looking at something when we look at the parable of Jesus. He keeps it simple and he does it he does it in a way that is just so relatable to the people. So I'm going to I'll go into some of the parables before too long, but that's kind of the gist of where we're going this morning, guys. It is when we think about our communication with people, we think about how we relate to people, we have to think about their world. What does life look like from their perspective? How can they be challenged spiritually? And it's certainly something that it's powerful when you can see that, there's a big shift here. This person really gets this. Anyway, I will leave it there and I'll be back before too long. See you soon. And welcome back, Coasties. That was Anywhere With You by Matt Kearney. Good morning. Honestly, it is going to be a good morning. I'm hopeful for you. It's Sunday. If you are waking up and you are kind of going, what day am I up to? It is Sunday. So you have got, if you work, your typical Monday to Friday, you've got today to enjoy before you're back in the swing of things. I'm not sure if that's good news or bad news, but hey, it is good news if you look at it and go, cool, got one more day. This is great. If you are not someone who works the Monday to Friday, well, I've got no hope for you in terms of, there's no big words of wisdom and encouragement in that. Just, I hope you have a great day. Let's just stick with that, hey? Yes. Anyway, guys, you're joining us here at Rhema CC. I just want to say welcome aboard again. We've got some big things happening here at Rhema. It's really been so encouraging to see your support over the last few weeks. And we encourage you to encourage us, that's like a full cycle, really, isn't it? It's kind of, anyway, I'll leave it there. But thank you for your support over the last few weeks, especially in terms of the financial stuff. It's been beautiful just to have your support. So thank you, and thank you for getting behind whatever you're able to contribute. We value your prayers. We value, your words of affirmation, just to kind of say, hey, you're doing a great job. We value whatever you can offer. It's honestly a gift, and we thank you for doing God's work in that. Certainly we are blessed by you guys, so thank you. Now we are talking about Jesus' parables today. So we're talking our last week. This is going to be our last and final week on what would Jesus do. We've been covering it for a few weeks now, so we've been looking at a few different angles of how Jesus would have done things, how he did things, what's recorded about the way that he did stuff. And I decided this week, I thought I was kind of, umming and ahhing, do I go in and look at more stories of Jesus' actual, interactions? Do I look at a specific part of the Bible, or what do I do? And I thought, no, you know what? I'm actually going to look at the parables themselves and look at the importance of parables. And why do I say that? I think the main reason I felt kind of compelled to explore that is because I love simplicity. I think we can overcomplicate things. We can overstimulate ourselves and other people by putting too much out there. There can be too much stuff going on. It can make it very, very hard for us to just stay the path and just get to keep with what is really important. And I think we are given a beautiful lesson in how to do life, how to interact, how to keep things simple when we look at the parables of Jesus. Now, if we look specifically at Matthew 13, 10 to 17, I'm going to read this for you guys, but it's basically explaining why Jesus chooses parables. So let me just read that to you. Okay, so again, Matthew 13, 10 to 17, the disciples came to him and asked, "Why do you speak to the people in parables?" He replied, "Because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. Whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You'll be ever hearing but never understanding. You'll be ever seeing but never perceiving. I can't read today. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it." I want to read that again because I feel like there's some really big stuff in that, and I'm going to just emphasize there the whole point of why Jesus speaks in parables and then explore, guys, why it's important for us. So again, Matthew 13:10-17. I'm only reading it again because I know for myself I can be an auditory learner, and I can be someone who processes stuff by just going back and going, hang on, wait a minute, stop, I just want to hear that again. So I'm just going to just emphasize here again what Jesus himself says in response. The disciples came to him and asked, "Why do you speak to the people in parables?" He replied, "Because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. Whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You'll be ever hearing but never understanding. You'll be ever seeing but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears. Well, they probably don't hear with their eyes either. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. You've lost me now. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it." So we have in this little section here, we've actually got reference to times gone by. We've gone back to the prophecies of Isaiah as well. Jesus is referring to this understanding that not everyone is going to get it because they're not listening. They're not able to understand. They can't comprehend. Even if they are seeing it, they're not actually seeing it. Even if they are hearing it, they're not actually hearing it. And their heart is just so hardened. There's so much they can't see. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, I can see how that would be a very accurate thing. People can be very angry, and when they're angry, they can't see anything because they're too hurt. People can be very hurt, and they can't see anything beyond the hurt. People can be so fixated on the stuff around them that they forget to see things for what they are. And their idea of success can be driven by stuff that is certainly not godly. But what Jesus is saying here, that for us, if we are Christian, we know it, we've got it, we've understood it, we get it. But for those who don't understand or haven't yet come to know Christ, there's a responsibility in how it is handled, and a lot of that is in keeping it simple. So when we look at the parables, and we've got a lot, there's a lot that I can... I think there's something like 43 from what I read somewhere. I'm just quickly flicking through while I'm talking to you, but I'm pretty sure that's what I actually saw. I find it interesting that Jesus, he's got to have been the most intelligent person to come across, and yet he kept it simple. And there's some really interesting attributes in that we need to be considering. And so why I'm doing that is because I think we need the reminder sometimes that simple is great. Simple is a good thing. And it may just be the reason. If we keep things simple, it may just be the reason that somebody who's not able to hear because their ears aren't attuned to it, their eyes aren't open to it, or they haven't been keeping it simple, keeping it relevant, keeping it something that is... of importance to them, is going to speak volumes. It's going to go the distance. One of the reasons I have loved, the move from from the Central Coast region to the Hunter region is because I see things in nature. I see God in nature, and I see Jesus' interactions in nature. I see how things make sense. I may have mentioned here a few weeks ago, I don't remember if I was talking here or just talking to my husband, I was talking about the process of, developing wine and producing wine and making it into something that is valued. It's something that is in society. It's a beautiful product. And one day my husband and I were talking about how, for me, I love to go and stand at the mountaintop and look across and see all the vineyards. I see real beauty in it. It's not something I would have seen probably 10, 15 years ago, but there is something in it now that I kind of can grasp that I wouldn't have at a previous time. And we were talking because he said, oh, look, I just don't get it. I don't really see any beauty in it. And I said, well, it's not like I look at it and go, oh, that's just absolutely beautiful. I said, I look at it and I see the story behind all the production there. I see what people have put into it, and the simplicity of turning, something from simple, like it's just a fruit that eventually becomes something totally different. And for me, it's the beauty of the process, which I guess, as I'm speaking now, makes sense because I am someone who is attuned to loving the process of seeing the transformation. It's just part of my blood. It's, that counselling part of me, it's just like, the transformation is awesome to see. So obviously, when it comes to nature, seeing the same thing, I see Jesus. I see the stories that are through Scripture, and I kind of go, oh, this makes more sense to me now. It's different. Now, this is the power of parables. It's taking things that apply or are meant. It's taking situational things or circumstances that mean something to someone on a deeper level, obviously, because it's more personal. But then going, hang on, there's a spiritual aspect to this. And I want to sort of leave that with you and challenge you on that. I'm looking at some things here. We've got the parable of the sower, the weeds, the mustard seed, the leaven, the hidden treasure, the pearl of great value. I can't for the life of me think of what that actually is right now. I'm reading a list that I've got in front of me. The net, the lost sheep, the unforgiving servant, the 2 sons, the tenants, the wedding feast, the 10 virgins, the talents, the good Samaritan, the rich fool, the barren fig tree, the wedding feast, the lost coin, the prodigal son, the dishonest manager, the rich man and Lazarus, the persistent widow, and the Pharisee and the tax collector. Now, these are just some. So I'm pretty sure that I read 43 was basically the number of things that we can see as in Jesus's parables. I haven't got 43 in front of me, but if you guys are more educated in this way, you'd probably know specifically numbers and all that sort of thing. You'd know that if there's gaps that I've missed. But these are some of the parables that we are exploring today on a very surface level, but just in terms of just challenging our own interactions with each other and our own interactions with the people that we meet. My question to you guys is, how do you keep it simple? How can you keep it simple? How do you keep it simple? How do you interact? How do you keep it on a level that is about real connection? Because when you can do that, when we watch what Jesus has done in this this sort of way that he interacts with people, it's powerful stuff, guys. It really is. It's just the simplicity of going, I get it. From your world, from your perspective, this is what things look like. Now, what about this? So I guess there's some challenge in that for us. I think the challenge is, how do we keep it simple? How do we keep things relatable? I'll leave it there because I myself am exploring this as I'm talking to you guys. I'm thinking it through as well. There's a lot in it, and it comes natural to some people, to other people not so much. I think we can all work on how to keep things simple. Anyway, I'll be back before too long, and we'll check it out then. All right, see you soon, guys. And welcome back, Coasties. I hope you're having a beautiful Sunday morning. Welcome to Rhema CC. If you happen to be joining us for the first time today, welcome to Sunday. Welcome to a new start. And if you are back again, it's nice to have you back with us. I'm glad you're here. Don't forget, guys, we have church on the radio this morning at 10 a.m. Anything else I need to let you know about? Let's just think. I will get back to it. I'm sure there are things I need to let you guys know about. But while I'm thinking of where we're sort of flying on from our little last chat, we've been talking about parables today, the parables of Jesus and why they're important. Why do they matter? And we've been talking, it's kind of been on a sort of a theme today, I guess, in terms of our what would Jesus do stuff. Now, I could go deeper, but I've decided to just go, no, let's just talk parables. Let's talk about the way that Jesus talked to people. Let's talk about the way that he relates to people. Let's talk about how he does communication with people. And if we look at the Gospels, we can actually see how he does that. In front of me at the moment, I have a few parables myself. We are looking at Luke 15, and I have chosen to go with this first one to sort of explore this morning because I think it sort of sums up exactly where we have been traveling this morning, where we've been, where we're going, all that sort of stuff. And hopefully what we're going to take on board and go, yep, cool. How do I keep things simple? The parable of the lost sheep. Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear Jesus, but the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." Then Jesus told them this parable. "Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and neighbours together and says, 'Rejoice with me, I've found my lost sheep.' I tell you that in the same way there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent." That's the simplicity that we're looking at. It's a simple ways of applying what those in that time, and even us today, we know. The farmer does celebrate when he's found this one lost animal. My husband is he's from Kentucky originally, so he's a country boy, and this stuff speaks to him. He gets it. When a cow would go missing as a kid or as a teen or as a young adult, it would be out, it didn't matter what time of the day it was. He was up and he was out and he was trying to find that one cow because for some reason it had taken off. And there's some stuff to it. Same thing with sheep. If we look at this. Now, another reference I would say is that we are not overly different to sheep in the lack of intelligence that we can have from time to time. We can get caught in all sorts of circumstances and situations that are not overly intelligent, and you can see animals like the sheep do similar. They can get distracted, they can get deterred, they can lose their way, and they need someone to come and find them. We are no different. And this is the simplicity of what we are looking at when we look at the parable of the lost sheep. Now, this might not be news to anyone here. You guys might be someone who has just known this stuff forever. But to those who are new to Christianity, to those who are looking at what Christianity might mean to them or what it's all about, they need simplicity. They need that understanding that, it is simple life events like this that we can look at and go, there's some deeper stuff to this. And more importantly, guys, if you are someone who you are just learning about Jesus, you're learning about God. And if you feel like you are a bit lost in the scheme of things, if you feel like you are sort of out on your own, I guarantee you can look at this parable here. Jesus himself is explaining, I'm going to go and find that one lost sheep. He's got his eye on you. He's looking for you. He's going to bring you home. If you feel like you are stretching out and you want to know him, he will come and he will find you. Just keep throwing yourself out there and saying, I need to hear from you, God. He will definitely fill in the gaps, and he sees you, he loves you, he values you, and you matter to him. If we're going to go on further, another parable I have in front of me, and now this actually is all the theme of lost. So the parable of the lost coin. Now he goes on. This is in reference to the last parable. But it says, or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Doesn't she light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbours together and says, "Rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin." In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. There is this theme. We see this theme of something that's lost, going from one thing to the next. But we're looking at the context of how these things apply differently to different people. To one, the aspect of the sheep, the farm, the land, it appeals to them. To another, it can be that understanding of money meaning something, of one coin being the difference between being able to find that sense of obviously rejoicing, but sense of relief. Like, okay, well, it's all right. We're good. And similarly, it's the same thing. It's in the same way I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. That one matters. And that's a beautiful theme in itself. Every person, every individual counts. Every individual, it matters. We matter. Moving on again, the parable of the lost son. Jesus continued, there was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, "Father, give me my share of the estate." So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy of being called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate." Now, I'm not going to go any further because it's a bit long, but in terms of that, that's embrace from, something being found that is of value, a person being of value. We see that in every parable I've just covered there. The parables of Jesus are powerful stuff because they talk to us on a different level. And I think it's just a matter of us being very aware of how we keep life simple. How do we communicate where, on a level that means something to the people that we're talking to or that we're dealing with? We have to find out what's important to them. We have to speak to them and ask them questions if we don't know what is important to them. We have to kind of see the world from their perspective. What does the world look like? What are the demands on those people? What are the things that are going to really speak volumes to them? And that, I think, is the key from what we can take away in terms of what would Jesus do and how he communicates. He would take things that are the everyday and he'd turn them into a life lesson. He'd turn them into something beautiful. I think there is so much. I've heard comments in the past of, things that people have said or done, and I love as in Christians have said about other Christians and how they do things, and there might be a case of, but that's not how it's written, that's not how it is. And I look at Scripture and I think, but Scripture is quite poetic. It's there's a poetry to it. Now, this is not poetry, it's a storytelling when we look at the parables, but there is a poetry in it. It's a deeper level of going underneath, of digging deeper underneath the very normal, very, very just everyday sort of stuff. I use one example here. My brother he is someone who works it's an industry that I think it could be quite rough and it could be quite aggressive at times. But one of the guys that he was working with at one point, I don't know how they were talking about it. He said something about God, and he just said to him, "Well, how can you tell me you believe in God?" And my brother's response was, when I look at my son, I think, how did you just happen? There's got to be something to it. And I guess this kind of covers what we were talking about earlier on this morning, the aspect of creation. And he just said to him, how can you look at your kids and go, "Oh, you just happened"? And I think that's these little drops of life, these little pearls of wisdom that we can implement through situations or through life experiences that speak volumes to people. This is what Jesus is doing. He's challenging in these things of what's important. Now, the parables I just covered, obviously there's a few different elements there of things we could take away. We look at the sheep, one's taken off, and how often does that happen? It does happen. We are often referred to as the sheep, and he's the good shepherd. He guides us. He shows us the way. And he goes to the lost sheep. He wants to find that one lost sheep. And then we look and we see in the other parables that I've covered this aspect of something that is lost and being of importance. I think it's really a matter of us being aware of the people we are working with and what is important to them. I think this is a personal thing on my end. I think rather than, I have to be very careful with how I say this, but I think one of the most powerful ways that we can really challenge someone on a spiritual level is not by questioning them on all the theological stuff or the big things that we believe to be a reason to say someone is a Christian, and we just have to get to simple. We don't, our role in life is to just encourage, to nurture, to be the connection between somebody else and Jesus. That is it. It's solely it, and it does not have to be a case of they have to go through us. I have seen time and time again, particularly in older generations, people feeling like they have to answer to other people in terms of their faith. And I just think we've got to keep it simple like Jesus. We've got to just be that in between. Meet them on their level, talk in their language, talk in a way that they understand their world. The communication has to be very, very simple. And if we look at the parables of Jesus, they're fine examples of how we can do that. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for a while because I'm getting very deep here. And my voice is obviously not holding up too well either. Anyway, we're back soon and we'll just tie things up. So I'll see you soon. And welcome back, hosties. Welcome to Rhema CC. Listen, I have to say, it has been an incredible response to our Legacy Builders launch. Honestly, amazing. The momentum is building, I have to say. We're on our way to our goal of 100 founding Legacy Builders, and the excitement is contagious. When you become a legacy builder, here's what your $3 daily investment actually achieves. More families finding hope through Christian radio. More youth connecting with their faith. More impact in our community. So become a legacy builder today, and if $100 per month is more than you can manage, you can give whatever amount you feel led to give. You can call us obviously on 43674042 or visit rhema.cc. We would love to hear from you guys if we haven't already. We are talking parables today, parables of Jesus. What is a parable? Let me just go back because I think it's a good way for us to what's the word I'm looking for? I really am not very together today. Just sort of re-explore and sort of tie things together, I guess. We've talked about this most of the morning, but we've been talking about what would Jesus do in the context of communication. We've been talking about the power of parables and how simple things, simple ways of communicating are seen from Jesus to those he lived amongst and loved and worked with and was challenged with. And basically, a parable is a tale about a simple, common subject that is to illustrate a more profound, valuable moral lesson. And that description comes from BibleStudyTools.com. So that's a good way of understanding what a parable actually is. Now, we've seen lots and lots of different, we haven't actually explored specifically a lot this morning. We went through a few different parables of Jesus. You can find those in the Gospels themselves. And we talked a little bit about the sort of theme of lost and how you see, according to different people or different societies, if you like, Jesus uses different ways of explaining the concept of being lost and the celebration in being found. And that's one example of what we are talking about when we are talking about the simplicity. It's applying what is relevant into how to make it so that it is something that can be applied on a spiritual level and be understood on a spiritual level. There's elements to all of it that just they speak to everyone. Doesn't matter your life stage, doesn't matter your upbringing, doesn't matter whatever. There's elements to the parable that every one of us can take away and go, okay, yeah, get that. And I think that's what I'm encouraging us to do today, guys, is look at how Jesus communicated with other people. He kept it simple. He looked at the people's lives and he thought, okay, how am I going to explain this to them? Right, this is the element that I need to take on. This is the element that I need to challenge them on. I'm going to just end today with the mustard seed, because the mustard seed is yet another parable. And, I've gone to the wrong thing in my computer. That's not good. I think it's a nice little way to, it's a nice little and big way for us to sort of just end today. And it talks about faith. It talks about faith and how it grows. So the parables of the mustard seed and the yeast. Well, to start with the first one. He told them another parable. I don't think I actually mentioned this is Matthew 13:31-32. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants. It becomes a tree, so the birds come and perch in its branches. Now, what are we exploring there? Obviously, we are talking about something that starts off as something very, very simple. It might be an idea. It might be a faith thing. It might be a movement. It might be something that is to other people looked at as silly. Why would you look at that when you can have all of this? Or why would you start with the very, 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 very basic? But yet if we look at the mustard seed he's emphasizing here it's the smallest of all the seeds, but that once it grows, it actually takes over the gardens. It's huge. It's massive. And more than that, it becomes a tree. And I think that there's some simplicity in that. Obviously, faith is meant to be like that. It's meant to start with those little steps of, okay, I trust you. Okay, all right, I get it. I'm going to just leave my situation in your hands. Okay, yep, all right, I'll take that step. All right, okay. And it grows until eventually something takes over in one's life where it is so significant that it cannot be hidden. Now, there's some powerful stuff in that too. I think it's one of the things, guys, when I'm sitting here of a Sunday morning, I find myself actually being really challenged by stuff too as I'm exploring it. It's not a case of, oh, let me just teach or discuss or, even have my say. It's not about that at all. It's certainly something that I love to provide if God has challenged me on something. But when I'm sitting here, most weeks I walk away and go, oh, did not think I was going to have that experience today, but wow, I'm really being challenged on that. But I look at this and I think the mustard seed is a really good example for us to just stop and just allow us to be challenged by not only from a faith perspective of going, I just need to believe, but in terms of how we do our life. There's a spiritual element to it as well. It's those simple things that we can do, those small, tiny little steps in terms of seeing our spiritual development. Now I was thinking about this week, how we are led to believe that we are going to just grow spiritually if we do step-by-step things. Sometimes I think for myself, I would experience as I was growing up this pressure of just pray, just read, just do this, just do that. And I think there is something. They're all certainly important steps, to read the Bible, to know the Bible, to know Scripture, to be able to spend time in prayer, to do, to love like I'm supposed to love, to whatever, the different challenges that we are given in Scripture, whether that's from the Old Testament where we look at, the Ten Commandments, or we look at what things Jesus has guided us to see as important. It doesn't really matter what we're talking specifically here, but it's just, the step-by-step, we can get so focused on the rules that we forget that actually when we just allow ourselves to be planted sometimes and we slowly take in the things that we need. If we look at the mustard seed, we look at any kind of plant really, you give it what it needs, you give it some water, you give it some natural light and you watch it bloom. You give it the things that it needs. And it's the same thing with our faith. We give ourselves the things that we need, but not just out of routine, but more just a case of I want to know more. I want to grow. I want to be that tree that started off as a mustard seed, and I want to flourish. I want to be that big tree in the middle of a yard that people have to turn to and go, okay, I'm going to ask that person because they've got some insight, they've got some understanding. That's the kind of thing that I think if for myself, if I'm looking at today what we've covered, I look at this very simple parable in front of me and I think, I can go into something thinking I'm just going to talk about that, and I can walk away going, oh, wow, okay, thanks, God. There's some stuff there for me to work on too. Dig into the parables, because not only for us to be able to understand Scripture, but to then apply it. How do we relate to people? How do we relate to their situations? How do we interact with them? How do we assure them? How do we, all that stuff. The parables are giving us a really good understanding of what is important to Jesus, how we live our life, how we communicate with each other. So my takeaway from today is keep it simple, guys. Know the Scriptures, obviously. Get to know the parables. As I said, going back over them myself this morning, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Oh, hey, yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, oh, that's right. That's different. Oh, that was my ring. There's, different messages in each parable. So yeah, anyway, a lot to it. I'm going to kind of wind things down now, guys, but it has been a delight this morning. Yeah, keep it simple. That's all I can say. Keep it simple and get to know those in your world so that you can relate Jesus back to them, because he is a good guy, isn't he? He really is. We want to share him with this community and, even beyond. Why would we not want to share God? That's a good question. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I will love you and leave you, and I'll see you next Sunday. See you soon, guys. Bye.